While all eyes are on the Walt Disney Studios expansion, Disney is quietly preparing something much bigger. Since day one, Disneyland Paris has had a secret hidden card up its sleeve: space. Not that space, just space. Room to grow up to 3 times its original size. The resort was always meant to be much larger than what opened in 1992, with more hotels and more parks for guests to enjoy and explore. Today, it has enough land to nearly double in size, including backstage areas, new hotels, experiences, and even a new theme park. In this video, I'll be investigating the story of the somewhat infamous Third Gate, a dream that for many feels like just that, but in reality, maybe much more. First things first, we need some background context. How Disneyland Paris was created and how it still operates today is the key. We'll explore this in different chapters, starting with the 1987 convention, moving through major new infrastructure investments, and much more. So, let's investigate. In the search for a suitable location in the heart of Europe, the Walt Disney Company, then led by Michael Eisner, entered into a contract with the French government, effectively creating Euro Disney. The 1987 convention for Euro Disney is still incredibly important, nearly 40 years later. It continues to drive development between Disney and the French state. It gave the Mouse exclusive control over 2,000 hectares of farmland east of Paris, and set out obligations for both parties. On one side, the state and public authorities had commitments related to infrastructure, such as extending the motorway, building the RER line, the Marne-la-Vallée-Chessy train station, and the TGV connection. It also covered land and zoning, making nearly 20 square kilometers available for the project and ensuring urban planning permissions for future development. Plus, economic and regional support to help grow Val d'Europe, a region that continues to expand with new homes and businesses every single year. On the other side, Disney had to build and operate at least one theme park by 1992, develop a certain number of hotels and the Disney Village Entertainment Complex, commit to massive private investment and create thousands of jobs, all while boosting tourism for France. Also, partner in the development of Val d'Europe and respect French culture while preserving green spaces and other standards. There was, however, another crucial detail that matters a lot to us today. The development was divided into phases, with Phase 2 requiring a second park to be built by 2007. If Disney missed this, the land would revert to the French state, which could then renegotiate for a higher price or sell to other parties. Eisner, however, pushed for a second park much earlier than required as he neared the end of his tenure. What we got was Walt Disney Studios Park. While not all details of the convention and its amendments are public, it's believed Disney was also contractually obligated to build a third park by 2026, after an amendment in 2010. Following Disney's 2018 takeover of Euro Disney and its €2 billion investment pledge, a major renegotiation took place in 2020. This created the current agreement. So let's break down what it says, according to sources like Le Parisien. Disney originally had until 2026 to build a third park, but that deadline was pushed back to 2036. By March 2036, Disney must submit a detailed plan. If they don't, they lose control over the land, and the state is free to sell it to whoever they choose. It's a use it or lose it clause, designed to stop Disney from sitting on the land indefinitely. There's also another factor though, less central, the 22 million visitor threshold. If Disneyland Paris ever reaches that number in a single year, Disney is obligated to submit a plan, which must be finalized by March 2040. In practice though, 2036 is the real deadline. If Disney misses it, they risk losing the land regardless of whether 22 million visitors are ever achieved. Here's how it works in practice. If Disney never reaches 22 million guests, they aren't legally required to build the park. But if they haven't submitted a plan by 2036, the land reverts to the state. If Disney hits 22 million before 2036, they must submit a plan and the land stays under their control. If Disney hits 22 million after 2036 but before 2040, the land may already be under state control, meaning Disney would need to renegotiate or find a new site. If 22 million is never reached by 2040, the obligation ends and the opportunity for a third park disappears, as the land could be sold to others. So under the current convention, the third park isn't guaranteed, but it's still a very real possibility. In the end, it comes down to Disney's choice. If they decide not to move forward when no new amendment is agreed upon, they effectively lose the land reserved for the third park. However, there's always another path. Disney could renegotiate the deal just like in 2020. But such renegotiation would likely involve another major investment of several billion euros into the existing resort, meaning that whether or not the third park is built, significant development and investment is guaranteed. Currently, the parks are getting around 16 million guests a year. This number was reached in 2023 with the help from Avengers Campus. However, with such major events soon happening in the parks, with a scale we've truly never seen, it's not hard to imagine that until the end of this decade, we will see the number grow exponentially. Disney counts their guests in an interesting way. If you visit both parks in one day, you count as one. If you visit 2 days, no matter which park, you count as 2. What the expansion to the studios is achieving is making people stay for longer. This way, if you want to do everything, all the rides, shows, nighttime spectaculars, parades, and more, there's no other way than to stay for longer. Effectively, what this does is, even if the same amount of people came to the parks, there are more visits as they stay for longer. Now we know how the deal between the state and Disney works, so we can start examining other important developments. First of all, this April, Le Point conducted an interview with Natasha Rafalski, the president of the resort, where the third park came up. This was their question. The possibility of creating a third park is still included in the agreement signed between Euro Disney and the state, among others. Does this topic come up regularly? To which Rafalski replied, "We are always working on the long-term planning and development of the destination. It is a constant topic for us. Quite honestly, we have nothing to announce at this time, but rest assured we are always thinking about our future. Theme parks are, by their very nature, always destined to be developed, and that is something we enjoy working on." This is clearly a very executive answer that says a lot without saying nothing at the same time. However, it is quite optimistic regarding this possibility, saying that the future is constantly being worked on even if there's nothing to announce at this time. Of course, actions matter a lot more than words, and thankfully there are some actions we can take a look at. First of all, since 2021, Disneyland Paris has been putting a berm in several areas around the huge plot of land dedicated to this park. It began on the northern side, with a very long stretch of over a kilometer. Last year, another was built, this time on the southern side by the motorway that leads to the park, with more 500 meters. And also on another smaller plot of land north of the main one. This all comes to nearly 2 kilometers of newly built berms that currently exist for nothing. For comparison, the large Disney Adventure World berm that separates the park from the town of Cerise is just under 500 meters. This obviously doesn't prove anything, but it's very interesting how this is being built so early on. You build berms when you're planning something long-term, which does confirm what Rafalski was saying. Big walls of dirt are far from being the only evidence where we can see this future growth. In fact, the main reason behind this video is just around the corner. But first, in the coming years, Disney and the local government will be investing heavily in expanding the roadways in and around the resort. Last year, a major revamp to the roads that got right through the resort was showcased by EPA France. These will double the capacity in many areas, create a bus-only lane, better the foot traffic, and change several points along the road. For this, new bridges will be created over the Boulevard du Parc, which is the entrance to the parking lot and where most people coming for the day pass through, and another over the marina off to the side of Sequoia Lodge. This will then carry on and pretty much happen all around the third park's plot, better connecting the town of Cerise to Coupvray, where many new developments are currently happening, while also adding much better connections between the different Disney and non-Disney hotels, and obviously the area of the third gate. These works will begin this year still and take a few years to conclude, costing an approximate 27 million euros, co-funded by Disney. So it's fair to assume that a good part of that bill will be sent to the mouse. The biggest amount of money that Disney is set to spend on infrastructure for future development, however, is not in berms or roads, but rather on electricity. The resort is currently powered by 2 substations, one in the north side of the circle and one on the south. These send power to the resort, but also to the many towns, houses, businesses, hotels, trains, and more around it, which means that the resort shares its power sources with everything around it, making expansion from whatever side a harder thing to manage. Well, earlier this year, Disney themselves found a permit to build a brand new electrical substation that will be exclusively for the Disneyland Paris resort. After trying to figure out the peak demand and usage the resort has during the year, it's possible to assume that this new substation will be able to provide 2 to 3 times peak demand. In terms of capacity, it will be able to provide electricity to a resort nearly 3 times as big as it currently is. According to the original poster of the permit, DLP Rescue Rangers, this will be able to power the current resort plus 1 more park and 6 more hotels. If this is hard to understand, here's the bottom line. Disneyland Paris will soon be able to power 3 parks, 12 hotels, backstage areas, and future expansions. This is huge, but it gets better. In this case, it looks like Disneyland Paris might be footing the entire bill themselves, and something like this could cost upwards of 40 to 50 million euros, considering the different details from the construction permits. There is one more little detail that I find incredibly fun, and that is the location of this new substation. It will be built just to the side of the car park entrance and north of the plot of land we've been so interested in during this video, located exactly between the current side of the resort and the supposed future one. That's a lot of money invested in new infrastructure to accommodate plans that would either not even be in their minds or decades away, right? Absolutely! I should also note that while this truly is a lot of fingers pointing to the direction of a third park, a lot of it is more than justifiable with expansion to come to the existing side of the resort. We're now moving into a new era of Disneyland Paris that begins next year with the opening of Disney Adventure World. After years of low investment, next year we finally begin to see some results of a more active resort. After that comes a new expansion that's already under construction, and there are already talks about what adventures lie beyond. So it's obvious that Disney is and will be investing heavily in the current resort. I think we can expect new hotels to soon join the fun, and infrastructure is needed to support this. The scale, however, is a clear indication that something more might be on the horizon. So that's it for today. Hopefully you're now more slightly interested in this possibility, thanks to everything we went through. If you have any questions, make sure to comment down below and I'll do my best to answer them. And now, thank you for watching, and that's a wrap.